What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Time to Rise and Thrive. I'm your host, Jackie Mott of Subliminal Mindset Mastery here in London, Ontario. And you are with me for Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network today. Today's show is called If You're Not Failing, You're Not Trying. Right? Yeah. So this one actually has caused me to do a whole bunch of thinking this morning as I was getting. So just in case you're new to the show, what I do on Friday mornings is I turn off my phones, I turn off my email, and I get into a zone. So I go in and I create this outline for the show that tells me what I want to talk about. Sometimes I go off course. If you've seen the show before, you've seen that happen. But sometimes I go off course. But I have a good idea of the talking points that I want to touch on throughout the course of the show. So this morning, as I was going through, I had a little bit of a difference, and we'll get into that in just a minute. I'll share that with you in just a minute. So on Time to Rise and Thrive, we talk about our subliminal soundtrack, how to make it work for us rather than against us, seeing our unique beauty and value. Because let me tell you, my love, you are beautiful and you are valuable beyond anything that you probably have ever realized. So it's time to start seeing it. It's time to start owning it, my friend. It is 2021 and oh my God. Yay. Yay. All right. So, and of course, we want to recognize our contribution to the world. Isn't that lovely? Yes. So today we are talking about if you're not failing, you're not trying. And what we're going to sort of discuss around that is reframing our thoughts around failure to see it as a necessary part of learning rather than something that we should just beat the crap out of ourselves, like put the freaking stick down, stop hitting yourself over the head, and let's talk about what this thing really is. All right, can we do that for a few minutes? Stay with me here. We're going to have a fun conversation today. We're just going to put this whole idea of failing and failure right on its ear because that's where it belongs. That's exactly where it belongs. All right, so when a baby is learning to walk, how many times do they fall down? Have you ever even tried to count? Because I would guess, having been a mom and known a lot of small children, I would guess it's probably in the hundreds, if not more. And every time they do that, they learn something new about this process, right? It's about like the muscle control, the balance, like all of those things. And what do we do? Do we pick up the stick and beat them over the head and say, "Bad baby, you fell down. Bad baby, you fell down"? No. Well, I mean, nobody I want to be around is going to say anything like that anyway. I can't speak for everybody. But we go, "Oh, yay, good job, you tried, good try," and we cheer them on and we make it a fun, happy, all of that kind of stuff. It's the same thing with toilet training or any other process that we go through with young children. We understand that there's a process that they have to learn, and we cheer them on as they learn it. We do not judge them. We do not make them wrong. We cheer them on as they learn it. And if you're a lucky person, that carried on throughout school, throughout career, in your relationships, so on and so forth. But most of us have not had exactly that kind of experience. So we picked up some bad messaging around this. So I want to talk about subliminal soundtrack because that's really what we talk about in the show. It's all kinds of other stuff, but it's all really about our mindset and about our subliminal soundtrack. So, our subliminal soundtrack is this loop that plays in the back of our head every single day, all day, every day. It tells us everything that we need to know to make decisions, to take risks, to engage with other people, everything, right? It affects everything that we do, our relationships, our money flows, our career choices, everything in your life is controlled by this. So if you're If your subliminal soundtrack is full of positive messaging that you're an amazing person with all kinds of gifts and beauty, and you can go out there, the world is your oyster, all of that kind of stuff, you probably have no problems with this stuff. But I would lay you money that a huge percentage of people out there have not had that kind of experience, because we've picked up on all of this messaging that has happened throughout our lives, because it's based on every experience, every teacher, every conversation, every failure, every success, everything, right? How the people in our world responded to the circumstances that happened, all of that. And especially the young kids, because they are so susceptible to what they're, like parents to young kids, let's be really clear, right? Parents to young kids are almost like superheroes and or gods or something. Like they know all the answers, right? They know how to kiss my boo boo and make me feel better. They know how to cook dinner and they know how to drive a car, and they parents to children are like gods until we get to a certain point, and then it's like, what in the hell is wrong with you? Right? At least that was my experience, both on the child end and on the mother end. But let's get back on topic here. So, how our subliminal soundtrack affects all of this is what we believe to be true will be true for us, whether or not it's based on accurate information or even if it's wildly incorrect. All right. So, how this relates to the idea of failure. If you believe that failing is the end of the world or that it makes you a failure, ugh, you'll create more stress than is required when something goes wrong. You will likely worry about outcomes that you cannot control, and you'll beat yourself up every time you make a mistake. You will also likely be risk averse because you want to avoid those ugly, awful feelings, right? But if you understand that failure is a necessary part of learning, that completely shifts. So feel the energy of what I just said. You're a failure. Ooh, ugly. That does not feel good. It makes me contract. But if I believe that this is a necessary part of my learning, shift my thinking, that I can learn and do better because I've learned something in the process, just like the little kid that's learning to walk or toilet train or any of that kind of stuff. Um, that I can learn and do better every time something doesn't work out the way I'd hoped. And then I can take that learning into my life to do better next time. I will be kinder to myself. I'll learn to analyze what happened so that I can figure out where it went wrong and learn the piece that will help me do better the next time. Because I mean, if we're just looking at it with judgment and judgment and failure written all over it, we're not likely to get really close to it and look at it to find that piece, right? Essential to find that piece. And we will likely be more willing to take risks because we understand. So like risks based on good information, good, thought processes, all of that kind of stuff. Not like, oh, well, everybody jumped off the bridge, so I'm going to jump off the bridge too. Right? You understand what I'm saying? I know you're smart. You guys are smart. You understand exactly what I'm talking about here. So there is a new article. It used to be called Three Easy Ways to reset your subliminal soundtrack, but I've rewritten the article so that the Three Easy Ways one is still available, I believe, on the phoenixcoach.ca, but we're going through a rebrand and there's a new website coming. And on the new website, there is, what is it called? 5 steps to create a mindset wired for success. So I've rewritten it, and it's a much better article actually now. So it's a guidebook. It's like 20 pages or something like that. It will be available on the new website, but I'm not sure it's up yet. So watch for it. Watch for information on that in or in upcoming shows, and I'll let you know when it's all done and all ready to go. So when this was where this went a little bit differently for me this morning. I was writing about this failure thing, and I thought, geez, I wonder what the dictionary actually says. And I don't know where that popped into my head, or why that popped into my head, but it did. So I went on dictionary.com because I was curious. I was curious what it says, and it is not hard to understand how we could get conditioned that this failure thing is a bad idea, because Here's what dictionary.com said. So I pulled fail, I pulled failure, and I pulled failing just to see, just to see. So fail as a verb, to fall short of success or achievement in something expected, attempted, desired, or approved. Listen to this. The experiment failed because of poor planning. Next one. To be unsuccessful in the performance or completion of. He failed to do his duty. Are you hearing these examples they're giving us? To prove of no use or help. His friends failed him. Are you hearing these definitions? All right. So they also attached to the verb one, noun, slang, an embarrassing or humorous mistake, humiliating situation that is subject to ridicule and given an exaggerated importance. Their app update is a massive fail. Good God. It is no wonder why we have all of this negative messaging around what it means to fail. Just right there. And I've got more. So, da-da-da-da. An act or instance of failing or proving unsuccessful. This is failure. Lack of success. His effort ended in failure. That one's not so bad. I mean, that's really not so bad. Non performance of something due, required, or expected. A failure to do what one has promised, a failure to appear. A subnormal quantity or quality and insufficiency. The failure of crops. Also, not, I mean, like this stuff isn't that bad. Uh, a condition of being bankrupt by reason of insolvency. How in God's name does bankruptcy become part of the definition of failure? Do you not agree that that is a massive leap? A massive leap. So if you're a failure, you're bankrupt? Crazy. A person or thing that proves unsuccessful. He is a failure in his career. Ah. So now the last one that I pulled is short. It's failing, failing. An act or instance of failing. His failing is due to general incompetence. What in the hell? A defect or fault, shortcoming. His lack of knowledge is a grave failing. Are you hearing the language? This is our dictionary definitions. This is our diction. This is how we as a culture, as a society, as a whatever, define failing, failure, and like, are you kidding me? Does that not completely go the other way from what we were talking about this being a necessary piece of learning? It is absolutely no surprise that people have such upset, such emotions, such frustration, such feelings of unworthiness, feelings of incompetence. It says it right there. Feelings of low self esteem and low confidence. It is absolutely no surprise when we look at that as the messaging that our society has put around this idea of failure. So there's so much judgment. And this is the conditioning that we've received. It is not your fault. It's not your fault. And that's, man, that's the piece of it, right? There are so many things that fail because of outside forces that no one can control. And let's get really clear on that. We are living through a time like that right now. I know people whose businesses have shut down. This is not their fault. They didn't create COVID. How is that their fault? So I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit heated here. I'm getting a little bit heated because this frustrates and upsets me that we walk around with this programming that tells us these horrible messages about ourselves because something went wrong. Because something went wrong. It is so amazing to me that this is sort of the norm and that somebody like me has to stand up and say, Wait a second. Wait a second. We don't beat up our children when they're learning, do we? Do we? So why are we so damn hard on ourselves? Why are we so damn hard on ourselves? You know, I've started my bookkeeping business 4 times, 4 times, 4 times. And I promise you that the last time I started it, I knew a whole lot more about the process of starting it and developing and building it and getting a clientele and all of that sort of stuff. I promise you that that time it happened much faster because of everything that I had learned along the way. It is a necessary part of learning. And if we're smart and aware enough to pick it apart a little bit and say, okay, where did things go wrong? Where did things go wrong? And I'm not saying don't take responsibility for the stuff that, I mean, if you screwed up, you screwed up. But don't make that a life changing moment that causes you to feel that and own that and turn that into those messages about your self worth. Don't let that happen, guys, because every single one of us, and I've said this so many times on the show, you are here. You were born with a unique set of skills, a unique set of gifts, a unique set of everything. You are a masterpiece. You are a masterpiece for only that reason. You don't have to do a damn thing to become someone special because you were born that way. All right. So now we're going to take a break. I'm going to calm down a little bit. I'm gonna calm down a little bit, and then we'll come back with some other stuff about this whole idea of if you're not failing, you're not trying. So you are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Please come back in just a moment or wait for us in just a moment. And when we come back, we'll talk more about reframing our thoughts about failure to see it as a necessary part of learning that helps you move forward and determine what really matters to you. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and today we are talking about reframing our thoughts about failure to see it as a necessary part of learning that helps us move forward and determine what really matters to us. It really when I first started to have this kind of conversation with myself about this whole idea, man, did it ever like play with my head. It was a tricky one, but it's that challenging the thought, right? I don't yell at a 1-year-old that's trying to learn how to walk. I don't beat them up. I cheer them on. I say, "Yay, let's go. Let's do it again. Let's do it again." Right? So, I have had the opportunity in the last couple of weeks to have conversations with several beautiful women, beautiful, strong, smart, lovely, lovely people, each with their own yummy each with their own yummy, there's like one of them is at a different stage in life with the other than the other is. One's a mom who right now is homeschooling a child who is autistic and ADHD, I think was what she said. And I was like, geez, Louise, lady. And you don't see that, you don't see how amazing you are. You can sit down with a child that's got those kinds of challenges and you can help them get through their day. Man, you're amazing, right? But that's the thing. It's hard for us to see this. It's hard for us to see this because we don't see ourselves in action. So we're going to talk more about that part of it in the next segment. I'm going to give you some actual tips to use and some of the exercises that I've asked them to play with, that can help you start to shift that and change that for yourself, because then it starts to get fun. Then it starts to get fun. Then you start to take these chances and risks, like having a show here with video and all of that. Oh my God. I cannot believe sometimes that I'm doing this. All right. So the thing about this whole idea of the failure being a bad thing is that it actually it will seep into and bleed into every part of your life. It will affect what you believe you're worth. So when we talk about, like, I'm part of this women's group and they're talking about wage parity, I think is the word, where there's like the difference between men and women's wages, right? It will affect that, because one of the reasons they say that happens is because women don't walk in and negotiate. We don't have the same level of confidence and belief in ourselves to walk into the office and negotiate and say, no, that's not enough money. That's not enough money. And that's part of the reason why there is this difference, is because a lot more men walk into the table and they're like, oh, I really want to work with you. And this is what I cost. Where women are like, oh, thank you for the job. And I don't say that to be rude. I'm speaking from my own experience. And I know that I have done that. I know that I have done that. Walked in the door and just been like, wow, what a great opportunity. And you're going to pay me $15 an hour? $15 an hour? And it was my own. It was my own perceptions, my own thoughts that caused me to walk through the door and be willing to accept whatever that person would give me. Are you following me? I was willing to accept whatever that person would give me because I did not see my own value. I did not understand what I bring to the table. I did not understand that I was worth more at that point in my life. So follow that line of thought. Follow that line of thought, man. And if it's true for you, if that's true for you, there's stuff you can do to work with that. You can change that. You can change that. And once again, please do not pick up that stick and beat yourself over the head and say, oh my God, I'm so bad because I do that. No, 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 no. It's the programming, it's the conditioning that we've received, and we can do something about that. We can do something about that. So when I go back through my history, the one of the most monumental life changes for me, I've talked about it many times. I became a mom when I was 17. And the thing that happened when that happened was that I absorbed this messaging and this idea, and I bought into it. That's on me. I bought into it that my life was over, that I'd ruined everything. Like, forget it. You're never gonna do what you could have done if you hadn't done that, stupid girl. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, I was always this. I was always smart and fun and sort of bubbly and vibrant and all of that kind of stuff. I was always those things. I was always a hardworking person. And that did not change because I got pregnant. None of that changed. So there's your subliminal soundtrack. If I had not bought into this idea that my life was over, that I'd ruined everything, all of that crap, if I had not bought into that, then who knows where I could have ended up? Who knows where I could have gone? Because I certainly wouldn't have accepted the life that I accepted. I went on welfare, and all my friends were on welfare, and we would sit around and drink coffee and be on welfare. Do you understand what I'm saying? And because I felt like I had so screwed things up, I felt like I deserved that poverty and that lack of hope for the future, that lack of hope for the future. And then one day, I carried that around for probably 20, 25 years. I carried that around. And in all honesty, just in the last couple of years, some of those pieces have broken apart and fallen away just in the last couple of years. So I carried it around for a long time and it affected everything I did. It affected who I chose to be in relationship with, who were my friends, who was I surrounding myself with, who I thought that I was, what I felt like I deserved, what I could accomplish career wise. You know, and it just like now I sit and sometimes I get a little bit frustrated and sometimes I laugh because there's nothing I can do to change this thing. But when I think about the jobs that I accepted and was, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me a job and how hard I worked for those people and what I brought to the table and creating systems that made their lives so much easier and all of that brilliance that is it's me. It's just me and my experience and my knowledge, my skills all put together. This is what I do. I was worth so much more than that and I didn't even realize it. So that's what that messaging had caused me to believe to be true was that I was worth $15 an hour. I was not worth. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the thing. And I mean, man, it was not easy. It was not easy to start to make these shifts. It was not easy to shift the way that I saw myself or the way that I believed myself to be or who I believed myself to be or what I brought to the table. Put myself in situations with certain relationships that were really unhealthy. You know, some were actually abusive. Um, some were just unhealthy and bad positions, man. Bad, bad, bad. There was a part of me that felt like I needed to be punished. Like I should be punished because I had screwed things up. And this is where this gets really dangerous, guys. It gets really dangerous because we absorb this idea that failure is such an awful thing. We can never recover. We will never, ever, ever, whatever, fill in the blank. When we perceive ourselves in that way, we do not value ourselves. We do not respect ourselves. We do not care or take good care of ourselves. My saving grace was my son. My saving grace was my son because he caused me, I felt like he deserved it. Didn't really feel like I deserved it, but I felt like he deserved a better life. So I kept on trying and I kept on trying and I kept on working and I kept on trying and learning and trying and learning and working and all of that. And I kept going because I had this little boy who deserved a decent life. He's not the one who made the decision that I made. It wasn't his fault that he was born. He did not deserve it. So he was my saving grace before I could start to see myself in a different way. He was the thing that caused me to keep pushing forward and pushing forward and pushing forward. So, I mean, it really took a lot of work. It took counseling. And, the counselors, I don't want to say that they weren't good at what they were doing, but we never quite got to the meat of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? We never quite got down to it. And I know that for me, my experience was the last counselor I saw, and that was after my sister had passed away. And I went to her because somebody had said to me, you need some grief counseling. And I thought they were right. So I went to see this lady and I got frustrated, not with her. I got frustrated with myself because I went through the door and we were talking about the stuff that I needed to talk about at first. And then we arrived at exactly the same place over time. Now we've figured that piece out. Great. That was why I was there. But then arrived at exactly the same place that I had been over and over and over again with every single counselor I had ever worked with every coach that I had ever worked with. We arrived at exactly the same shame, the same blame, the same crazy place. But I don't think I was ready to actually look at that, pull it out and rip it apart and go, wait a minute. I don't think I was ready. So, I mean, it's certainly not anyone else's fault. When we're ready, then we can get to these things. But the truth was that I had to get to a point where I could see the truth of what was going on with me what I was creating for myself. And that's something that I'm going to dig into a little bit when we come back from our break, because I'm getting told that it's time to go. Oh, and Jen has said, can you imagine what would happen if we loved ourselves to the same capacity that we love our children? Honey, we are going to talk about that in the next segment. You are so on my page. You are so on my page, Jen. I love it. All right. So you're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. We're on Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we are going to talk a little bit more about this reframing our thoughts about failure. I'm going to give you a few tips and a few exercises to practice and a little bit more of this like shifting the mindset. All right. So come back and join us in just a minute. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, and today we are talking about if you're not failing, you're not trying. So this is the part of the show where I'm supposed to plug myself just a little bit. So I'm going to give you a bit of information. So subliminal mindset mastery. I don't think you can see that terribly well, but that is now a thing. It is now a thing. We are working on the website. The website is almost ready to go. I would think that it'll be up and running probably within the next 2-3 weeks. It should be ready to go. So that's exciting. That's very exciting. On our Facebook page, I decided something earlier this week. So I'm in Ontario and we have gone into a new stage of lockdown, which is a stay at home order. And that is like enforced. We got an emergency alert on our phones, like the same as those Amber alerts and things like that. And it said, it is the law, stay home. Right. These are the, I think there are 3 instances. You can go for groceries, you can go for medical care, and you can go outside for exercise. That's it. Other than that, if you get caught, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. And they actually apparently have given the police some powers to give us like real trouble if we do decide to go out of our house. So when we got that information, I don't know why. I don't know why this one hit me, because so far, well, I've been riding it pretty well and not getting too worked up about this thing. This one hit me. This one hit me, and I think it's partly because I miss my people so badly. Oh man, I miss my people so badly. It's been almost a year, and that's a long time to go without, the hugs and the contact and the connection and the community and all of that sort of stuff that is really so much a part of who I be. And so what I decided on the Subliminal Mindset Mastery Facebook page, I created a group, the Subliminal Mindset Mastery community. And what I decided this week was that I'm going to start on Monday nights. We're just going to have a chat, like bring a glass of wine, bring a cup of tea, whatever it is that you want to bring your problems, bring your laughter, bring your whatever. And we're just going to have some time together. I don't know how long it'll go. It'll depend on who's on there and how many people and all that sort of stuff. But my intention is to go for no less than half an hour and probably not much longer than an hour. But you have to be part of the group in order to participate in those. It's a live Zoom call. I set it up and everything goes into the group. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about, right? So I believe that the thing that's going to help us all get through this is that sense of coming together, that sense of community. And my sincere hope is that we pull that out of this thing with us, that we carry it out on the other side and we make that part of our new normal. I hate that. I hate that term, but we make it part of our new normal is that we embrace and create this community and this love and support for each other. So if you're at all interested in just coming on and joining us to chat about whatever, it is not going to be all COVID, I promise you, because I'm going to make sure that it's not all about that, but it can be about like, how are you doing? How are you doing in this? How are you doing? What are you finding challenging? What's going well? All that kind of stuff. And can we bring some laughter to the table? Can we bring some laughter and fun to the table to help us all cope? So that is the purpose of all of that. There's going to be some courses that are coming up, and I'm not going to go on too much longer here. But if you would like to join us in that Monday night chat, please go onto the Subliminal Mindset Mastery page, like the page, find the group, ask to join the group, and join us to just share some love and support and fun as we go through this. It'll go on as long as it goes on. Maybe I'll carry it on after the pandemic. I don't know. We'll see how much fun we have. So that's what I've got for you as far as business stuff goes. And now we are going to get into the tips. Now we're going to get into the meat of it. So one of the things well, I'd like to show you my office, and I also wouldn't because it's a big mess right now. I still do the bookkeeping and accounting, and I have piles of paper everywhere because I've got a lot of stuff going on there. But you can see behind me, you can see behind me that there are things hanging on the walls and there are signs up all over my office that help me stay positive. They remind me of the positive stuff, right? So finding those things that will help us remember, will prompt us to remember that things are not that bad, that, we've lived through everything else that's ever happened. We've gotten through it. This will come to an end too, and we will get to the other side. We'll see the other side of this, right? So I surround myself because it's not just a pandemic, like I'm going through a divorce. There's other stuff. There are hard things in every one of our lives. And that's one of the things. Look at people and understand no matter who they are. They've got some challenges. Try to show some kindness when you're out and about with people because people are struggling right now. They're struggling right now. And even outside of COVID, people are struggling, so try to have some kindness and whatever. But, like one of them over here is every little thing is going to be all right. And, it is. It's always all right. We've lived through everything else. We've lived through everything else. We'll get through this one too. So that is one of my things. I also really like to watch the inspirational videos sometimes on YouTube and stuff like that. And I remember seeing one a couple years ago. Will Smith had done this one, and it was really impactful for me because what he was talking about was the difference between fault and responsibility. And you've heard me talk about radical personal responsibility on the show, and I think that may actually be where that came from for me. It was always probably there, but to actually put the whole thought around it. And what he talked about is that the things that happen, particularly in your childhood, the things that happened to you that caused you to have this challenge or this problem or this illness or whatever the case may be, it is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to do something about it. I remember years ago, there was a person that I knew, and he was, I don't even know how old he was. I'm going to say he was in his 60s or 70s. He was not a young man. And he sat down with us one night. We were at a friend's place, and he sat down with us and he was talking about how his parents had done something. And I just remember walking away from that conversation and going, man, like, don't you want to let that go? Do you really want to carry that? Wow, that's a long time to carry that thing. It's a long time to carry that thing. So we need to let that stuff go. Like everybody makes mistakes. I promise you, in my parenting, I'm sure that I made some mistakes. Did I do a good job? I think I did. And I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect, and there is no guidebook to tell you how to be a good parent. There's all kinds of people that have ideas, but there is not a guidebook that says this child needs these things. Here's what you do, right? There's no guidebook. There's no how-to manual. You fly by the seat of your pants. You do the best you can, right? So that piece about forgiving our parents, forgiving ourselves, forgiving everything, like it's not your fault that something bad happened, but it's your responsibility to do what you need to do in order to heal that so that you can move forward in your life. All right? That's the truth. So some of the exercises that I gave to these women that I had the privilege of speaking with in the last week, and man, amazing conversations. I will not say their names. You know who you are. Thank you very much for your contribution. Um, so a couple of the things that I threw out to them were one that I like, this is a go-to for me. This is an absolute go-to for me. Um, go to 10 people who love you. If you've got 10 people who love you, go to them. And I'm not talking about the I love you, so I'm going to kick your ass every chance I get, or I love you, so I'm going to judge you for everything that you do wrong, or I love you, so I'm going to treat you badly or make you feel badly about yourself. I'm not talking about that love, because that's not love. That's not love. That's judgment. That's unkindness. All right. I want you to find those people who see you. They've seen you in your mess and in your glory. They know you. They know who you are at the core of your being, and they love you. They love you, and they want you happy, and they want you doing the things that feed your soul. Those people. All right. You find those people. 10 people if you've got them. I mean, I'm very lucky because I know I do. And some people have said to me, I don't have that. So if you've got them, if you don't have 10, find 5, find 3, find as many as you can. All right. And you're going to go to them and you're going to say, this lady, she asked me to do this exercise. Can you help me? Can you help me out with this? And she asked me to talk to people and say, what are 10 words that you would use to describe me? And then let them think on it a little bit. You don't want them to think on it too much, because it can be a bit of a chore if we're not careful. But like the first 10 things that come to their mind. I did this years ago and it shifted things dramatically for me. And here's the thing, there's a reason for this. We do not get to see ourselves in action. We do not get to see ourselves in action. All right. So, uh, when we are being a kind person to another person, we don't see that. The people around us do. If we are being a loving mother, we don't see that, but the people around us do. Do you see what I'm saying? So we're asking the people who have seen us to tell us what they see, because I don't see that. When I see myself, I see myself in this mirror, or on this screen, right? So like how lucky am I, because I can look on this screen, and I promise you I listen to every show, I watch every show after, and sometimes I go, there's a couple of things that I wish I'd done differently with that show. And sometimes I go, wow, that was good. That was good. And I'm proud of me. I'm proud of me for that, because that was a good one. So I'm lucky because I have that. But there are so many instances where we don't get to see ourselves. So talk to your people. 10 words that they would use to describe you. This is a go to. I use this with clients all the time. I use this with friends when they come to me with challenges and things that are giving them challenges, and those, right? You know what I'm talking about. So this one was a new idea that I actually really love, and I think I'm going to do this for myself. So for the next 30 days before you go to bed, take just a few minutes and write down 3 things that you did that day that were good. Like they went really well, and you're like, "Oh man, this was good. I loved this. I loved this part of my day." 3 things. 3 things. Now is where it gets a little bit tricky, because now you're going to go, "Oh, okay. So what does that tell me about myself that I can appreciate? Does that tell me that I'm good, kind, whatever? What does it tell me about myself that I like as a quality in other human beings?" What can I appreciate about myself because of this thing that I saw in myself today? All right. And then if you really want to make it effective, I want you to grab a journal and take a few minutes and ask yourself these questions. What does it tell you about yourself? What kind of person has those qualities that I appreciate? Get ready. If I have those qualities that I can appreciate in other people, and I know that I have those qualities because I've done the thing that showed me that I have those qualities, and that's who I really am and how I show up in the world. What does that tell me about my perception of myself? Is my perception of myself accurate, or is this new information that I now know to be true and I need to plug it into my perception of myself because what I've been working with is not it's not complete and accurate. All right? Or does it prove that I am a different person than I believed myself to be? And if I'm a different person than I believed, oh my God, this is going to be a tongue twister. What kind of person am I? And am I someone that I can be proud of? That's what I'm going to leave you with. You can go back and watch the show again or back up the video or whatever it is that you're doing if you want to write those things down. This is something that I'm actually going to do for myself because when it came to me, I was like, oh, this is nice. So we're going to head to our last break. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today, we are talking about reframing our idea of failure as something that's actually useful to help us move forward in our lives. All right, so we'll be right back in just a minute.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back for the last segment of today's show. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, and today we are talking about reframing our perception of failure. So the last sort of story that I want to share with you is I was having a conversation. So if you saw me anywhere in the last month or so, you would have heard about this 30-day mindset challenge. And I gave away a couple of free calls with me. So one of them I had with a beautiful woman yesterday, just beautiful, lovely woman. Yeah, I fall in love with people really fast. It's crazy. Yeah. All right. So it reminded me, we were talking about something and it reminded me of a conversation. And this is actually going to what Jen said a moment ago. There was a friend of mine who came to me. I don't even know how long ago. It was a while ago, like years ago. She came to me one day and she was talking about something that had gone wrong. And I can't remember what the circumstances were because it doesn't matter. But she came to me and she really felt badly. She really felt bad. She was beating herself up. What is wrong with me kind of stuff, that kind of heavy, ugly stuff. And I remember saying to her at one point, I want you to just answer something for me. Now this is a good friend of mine, we love each other, right? If I were to show up on your doorstep one day and I were to say to you exactly what you just said to me about what has happened and what you have done or whatever it is, how would you perceive me? And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, would you look at me with the same eyes that you're looking at yourself right now, with judgment and anger and ick? Oh my God, I'm such a screw up because this happened. Would you look at me through those eyes, or would you look at me through the eyes that love me and have that soft space and that compassion and kindness and understanding that just because something went wrong or just because I did something wrong doesn't mean that I'm not the same Jackie that you've always loved? How would you perceive me?" And that's the challenge, guys. That's the challenge, is to actually get to a place where we can actually see ourselves with that same kind of love that we see when we look at our children, when we look at our partners, when we look at our family members, like whoever it is, your friends, whoever it is. We don't look at them with judgment and mean. Well, most of us don't. We look at them with like, okay, okay, so you screwed up. So you screwed up, but I love you anyway. I love you anyway. What would it take for us to start to see ourselves through those same lenses, through those same eyes? All right, you messed up. I love you anyway. It does not change who you are in my world. It does not change that I love you with everything I've got. Got it? So that's the challenge. That's the thing I'm going to challenge you to start to do. When you screw up, when you screw up, because it's inevitable, we all do it, like probably most of us daily. We all screw up from time to time. And what would it take for us to see ourselves in a place of learning and with love? Hmm. That's the thing. All right. So we are right down to the wire. I'm getting the last couple of minutes warning. I've got a quote that I want to share with you. I wrote this morning when I was thinking about this whole topic. It says, "When we've messed up, particularly if what we've done has caused pain or hardship for someone else, e, we need to own it, but we don't get anywhere by beating ourselves to an emotional pulp because of it. It helps no one, does nothing to change the situation. It simply adds more drama, more pain, more hardship for everybody involved, really. Do what you can to rectify the situation. If you feel that that would help, then give yourself some of the same compassion you'd give anyone else. Anyone else. Learn whatever you can to do better moving forward and forgive yourself." So that is what I have for you today, my loves. Thank you so much for your time. You've been with us on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott of Subliminal Mindset Mastery. And all of this amazing stuff is happening. We've got the website coming. We've got the new group on Facebook. There's so much wonderful stuff happening. Find us on Facebook. Watch all of this stuff. Join me, comment, like, share your stuff on my page. If you have something inspirational and wonderful that you'd like to say, just I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. All right, so we will be back next Friday. Next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 Mountain Time, 10 Pacific. Next week's show is called Lyrics on Waking. Pay attention to the messages. This one's going to be a little woo-woo, but it's going to be fun. So pay attention to the message. We're going to be talking about paying attention to the messages that are showing up for you. Wow. All right. So, yeah, that's what I have for you today. Don't forget about that easy ways. You can still get that on the phoenixcoach.ca website. 3 easy ways to reset your subliminal soundtrack. But I promise you, the 5 steps to create a mindset wired for success is so much better. So much better. I love it. I just love it. I really like to write. I really do. I really like to write. So thank you so much for joining me today. Jen has been with me. She is an amazing, producer extraordinaire. She does such a great job. I appreciate you so much, Jen, and all of the other people that help us with this stuff. So thank you for joining me for Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. We will see you next week.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.